Welcome back to Inside Colerain Cardinals Athletics here on wearecolerain.com and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports. My name is Jason Griefer. We're happy to be joined once again by Colerain Athletic Director Matt Stoinoff. Matt, good to be talking to you once again here. We were just talking before we started recording this, and we touched last time on the mask and attendance policy at Colerain High School and where we were at that point. And so the fans had an idea of what to expect when attending sporting events. And you were just saying soon after we finished up our podcast 2 weeks ago that things have changed now. Take us through the updates.
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me here, Jason. Exciting times and whatnot, but as always, things are changing quickly every day. So about an hour after our last podcast, our district has 6 indicators that we're following. And we have met indicator number 4 now. So things have changed with that. Our attendance policy at sporting events have changed and our mask policy. So it will be mandatory that masks are worn at all inside events at all times, and then recommended and encouraged at outside events, but not mandatory. As far as our attendance, so last week we were 100%. This week we will be 75% outdoors. 75% indoors. And then, so that will take place all of this week. The following week, so the week of the 20th, we will be 50% attendance outdoors, 50% attendance indoors. And then the week of the 27th, we will be 30% outdoors and 25% indoors. And that's assuming that the indicators stay where they are. At any time, we can go backwards into the previous attendance policies, but assuming that everything's going to stay the same and whatnot, that's kind of where we'll be. So as far as our volleyball and things like that go, this week we'll be at 952 fans. Next week we'll be at 635 fans and then 317 fans. Again, for volleyball, not a huge concern there with numbers and whatnot, based off of our attendance we've had. Now, when we get into football, the difference between last year and this year is we were only able to count fixed seating. So this year we're counting the grass areas and everything in our stadium. If you know anything about Colerain Stadium, there's a ton of grass around it, ton of seating there. So we got those numbers closer to the 10,000 mark for full capacity. So for football this week, we'll be looking at 7,992 fans. When we get to 50%, we'll be looking at 5,328. And then when we get to the 30%, we'll be looking more in the 3,100 or 3,200 range for attendance. So again, not a bunch of concerns there. There are some situations that could get a little tricky. We got to get there first. But if we play week 9 versus Lakota West, we're both undefeated in the GMC. Things could get hairy there. So we've got some plans for that and whatnot. And then if we host a home playoff game, some of those attendance concerns could come up. But again, so what we kind of went to, and I just kind of have a map here. So when we post our tickets on Hometown, we're going to have 1 through 8 options. So option 1 will be the home bleachers. Option 2 will be visitor bleachers. And then we kind of have sections labeled around the map with the seating in that. So again, all this will be posted on Hometown. Our new rules, instructions and everything will be posted to social media, our website, and all that. So our fans, and then again, as always, call us if you have any questions.
Yeah, big changes, obviously, there compared to where we have been. Is this something that can change on a weekly basis to where if you're able to meet certain criteria, you can eventually get back to 100%, say, before that week 9 matchup against Lakota West?
So we're looking at 3 weeks before anything can go back. So we would have to meet. We're at our numbers now, but if those decline, we'll have to decline for 3 weeks, and then we can kind of take a step backwards.
Okay. So again, stay tuned to wearecolerain.com and all social media outlets, as well as Hometown, for ticketing information and as far as the actual full readout of the new policies. But again, the big thing is if it's an indoor event, for particularly volleyball, got to wear the mask, and very strongly encouraged for the outdoor events. And also the capacity is going to be reduced. So again, keep that in mind going forward, and stay tuned to wearecolerain.com for any further changes to the policy. Let's move on and let's start talking about some of your student athletes here. And we'll talk more about football in particular at the end of the show, because we also have homecoming coming up. So we'll get into all that towards the end. So stick around for that. But let's start off with your cross-country teams. They've been pretty busy since we last talked. They were out at Loveland and Mason. Those are two pretty big meets in and around the area. And we're starting to head towards the end of September into October. And so things quickly heading towards, we can see the postseason in sight is the big thing there. But nevertheless, I'm wondering at these two events in particular with Loveland and Mason, because as I said, they're pretty big events. What stood out to you there at these events? What stood out to the coaches? And also what are we emphasizing with the runners as they get ready to go to Milford this coming Saturday for a big meet?
Yeah, so the past two events were great. This past week we were at Mason, like you said. The event was huge. I mean, we had teams from Tennessee, Indiana that came, over and up for that. The course was set. The course was unique. The athletes had to go over hay bales. We had to go up a huge hill with mulch and things like that. So it was a different course than we are used to, and whatnot. Despite all the obstacles, we had 6 athletes that ran the season best this year. With half of the team kind of new, we're still working on strategies and things like that. But led by our senior Josie Gabriel, and then our sophomore Aaliyah, some very encouraging things going on. But when you're at a course like that with the hay bales and the huge hills and the mulch and things like that, our athletes aren't always used to that. But to have 6 season best scores, season best PRs out of that, it's exciting. It's encouraging. So hats off to our coaches and the strategies and the things that we're doing for them. So
it's a very unique layout.
Yeah.
Hay bales and having to run up a hill with mulch on it and things like that. That doesn't sound like a thing. It's very something that I would want to do. So even kudos to them, especially not only for doing it, but for setting some PRs there. So that's definitely good there for sure. So we'll see what happens coming up in Milford this coming weekend. Let's switch on to the links here and talk about your golf teams, because it's a pretty busy time coming up here in the next couple of weeks. The girls had the GMC championships this week. The boys are going to go next week for the GMCs. They're kind of give us a preview of these events for both of these teams, if you will, and where perhaps you and the coaching staff see the best opportunities to try to contend in an obviously very difficult league.
Yeah, so the girls, like you said, are playing Tuesday and Wednesday this week for the GMC championship. Michaela Buckmaster is top 10 in the GMC with an average of 43. And then Anna Ankenmeyer and Kelsey are both in the top 25. So we're excited to see where we are, after Wednesday. But again, a 2-day tournament for a high school athlete. In the GMCs, a lot of pressure for them. And Coach Caldwell's just talking to him about, staying relaxed, going through your motions, your pregame and everything that I've taught you and whatnot. So a lot of pressure on our girls and whatnot. But again, they have 3 athletes in the top 25 in the GMC is exciting. So like I said, with the average scores of 43 for Michaela, it's very encouraging.
And then over on the boys' side, as I said, we got the GMCs coming up next week. Lakota East has been a stalwart there. You've got Oliver Powell Campbell, though. He's 16th in the league in scoring right now. How is he feeling about his game as he's moving forward? What have you heard from the coaches?
Yeah, so Coach Starman, says great things about all the athletes, but Oliver, with an average of 41, he's playing well. He's playing really good for a high school athlete. At any level, to average a 41 is impressive. So, we're excited to see what he does next week, along with all the other teammates. So, again, very encouraged by our athletes and how well they're playing right now.
Over on the soccer pitch here, we'll move to now. We'll start with the girls, and it's early in the conference season for everyone thus far. Just a couple of matches in right now. We're 1-1 right now, so not too shabby. But right now being led by the duo of Josie Meinking and Kaylani Brodnax, who've combined to score 8 of the 10 goals for the Cardinals thus far in the campaign. So they're doing their work. 5 goals for Josie, 3 goals for Kaylani. I'm wondering what Coach Waldock's thoughts have been on the scoring prowess of these two, and also how much better this team is when both of these young ladies are in top form.
Right. No, exactly. So 3-1 overall, 1-1 in the GMC. The losses, I was here Saturday. We had a tough loss to Anderson. And I mean, Anderson is a very good soccer team. It seems though that we're kind of jumping out early. And even in the Sycamore game and Anderson, it was like clockwork, 5-6 minutes into the game, we're scoring, we're up 1-0. And then we kind of start relaxing a little bit and then it's hard to catch up. So I know Coach Walduck and Coach Schutte and them are going to push them to finish stronger because to go out and score quick and then not be able to finish. So that's something that the coaches are going to work on. But again, a tough loss to Sycamore, a tough loss to Anderson, but again, very good teams from there. So
over on the boys side, kind of a similar story right now. 3-2 overall and 1-1 in the GMC. The loss coming to Princeton about 11 days ago. They have one of the better keepers in the conference right now, but you bounce back, get a win over Sycamore to improve to 500 in league play right now. We look at the way things are shaking out and what we have coming up. We've got Middletown, Fairfield, and Oak Hills in league play. You also go to the GCL South against Elder and LaSalle coming up in the next couple of weeks. But I'm wondering in particular with the schedule as far as in the conference goes with those three matches I just mentioned, and also given the fact that we only go through the league once to try to determine a league champion. We're only 2 matches into league play, but are we already starting to look at the standings and see what other teams are doing? Or is that something that maybe becomes more of a focus after this upcoming stretch?
Yeah, I mean, the stretch that our boys soccer has in the next 2 weeks is very challenging. I mean, we had Anderson, who's a top 5, top 10 team. And then, like you said, Elder and LaSalle, and then even the GMC part of it. It's going to be a very tough next 2 weeks. But again, the way they're playing, like you said, 3-2 overall. We had a good match against Sycamore. Again, we lost to Anderson Saturday night, 3-1. Kids played well, but, Anderson is a very, very talented team. But yeah, I think kind of get through these next 2 weeks and let's see where we are in the standings. I think that's what, Coach Rothwell is telling the team and all that. Kind of the dust will settle. Let's see where we are and let's continue to get better.
And it's looking like a league this year, at least early on, where there's going to be a lot of teams in the mix. So all the more important to take care of business, especially with Middletown and Oak Hills being at home. You want to defend home turf there. For sure. Let's move on to the tennis courts and talk about things there. Tennis sitting kind of mid-pack right now in the GMC. Nothing to shake a stick at there, but a busy stretch coming up. We've got 7 matches scheduled in the next 9 days, so they're going to find out where they are real quick as the postseason nears towards the end of the month. But let's talk about a doubles tandem here. It's on the verge of maybe doing something rather historic at Colerain. Your second doubles team of Anna Diep and Ayusha Gautam is on pace to break the record for team wins by a second doubles team right now. I'm wondering what has worked so well for them, and do the coaches feel like maybe they're rounding into a form where they can be a serious threat at the GMCs in a few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, just to be kind of in the middle of the pack of the GMC, I mean, tennis is very big in the GMC, the Masons and the Sycamores and the Lakotas. I mean, it's a very big deal to be in the middle of the pack where, I guess you could say we're not where we want to be, but we are pretty happy with where we are at the end of the day. The doubles, Coach Victor texted me the other day and said, let's look at the school record because we have an opportunity to break it. And so very exciting to do that. I have to get down there with him and we'll kind of look at it to see where we are and what we have to do. But just to have those conversations with the girls and with the coaches, it's exciting times for our tennis program. I mean, in years past, you can kind of look at where we were and the things that we've done and where we are now. Very encouraging, very exciting. Coach is doing a great job with the girls and they're competing every week. And like you said, 7 times in the next 2 weeks. So, they're competing and doing well. So we're excited. It's a great group and they're fun to watch.
What's that like for you as an athletic director when you get a text or a call from a head coach, no matter the sport, saying, can we check the record books? Because we may be on the verge of having to rewrite it.
It's exciting. I mean, that's why we do this job, to see how our kids can improve, and then, make history and be here forever. It's extremely exciting, regardless of what sport it is and whatnot. So can't wait to get down there today or tomorrow and look at it. Talk with Denny, who keeps all of our records, to see how close we are and what we have to do. And just keeping the girls focused, keep competing, keep your eye on the prize, keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, and the rest will take care of itself. So,
and they're doing a very fine job of that thus far on the season, but a lot of tennis to be played in the next couple of weeks here.
Yes,
for sure. Let's move indoors and let's talk about volleyball. And again, coming up here soon, we've got home matches with Middletown and Oak Hills, and masks will be mandatory if you want to make it out to support this team. And this has been an interesting run thus far in the campaign for the volleyball team. We're sitting at 5-3, but you go deeper, all 3 losses have been in 5 sets. They've gone the distance. So you look at a deflection here, a ball here, a drop in here from being 8-0. You're right there on the cusp. And particularly the last 2 5-set losses to Edgewood and then to Sycamore, both on the road there. And there's always, a couple of ways that a player or a team or a coach can look at this. They can look at it one way and say, yeah, we're there, but gosh, we're just not getting it done. And that can be, I imagine, a very frustrating thing. On the other side, it can also push a team harder to realize, boy, if we just do one little thing here or one little thing there, we're undefeated right now, really at the midway point of the regular season. Which way is the coaching staff going with this team, and how is the team taking it?
So again, the team is so talented, and a lot of seniors. So they're going to keep fighting, and this is, it's upsetting them. So they're going to continue to work. That's their team. They're not going to fold. They're not going to go hide away. They're upset. They're going to continue to get better and keep fighting. But when you go back, we played Ross. We lost in 5. That's tough. We swept Madeira. We swept Princeton. And then we play Edgewood, lose in 5. We play Sycamore, lose in 5. So again, new coaching staff, some things where, when times are tough, they're kind of going back to things that they used to be taught and things like that, talking with Coach Neighbor. So just getting them to follow his plan, stick to the strategy and all that. I would think that here in the next couple of weeks, those game 5s will be turned in Colerain's favor. The McNally girls are playing so well right now. Grace Gaynor is playing well. Kate White, all of them are meshing. They're playing well together. We just have to finish those 1 or 2 points at the end of the game, and whatnot.
What have you made in to that point with such a senior laden roster, welcoming in a new coaching staff and trying to bring all that together while going through some of these tough times, if you will, in the fact that they're getting to some of these 5-setters and losing? Is it your expectation that will turn, as you say, in the next couple of weeks, and some of those 5-setters are going to start going their way as they continue to gel more with this new coaching staff?
Exactly. Yeah. And the girls were all, arms and open for our new coaching staff and all that. Again, we lost a great coach to Mason, but we also replaced her with Andrew. And, we couldn't be more excited about Andrew and what he's teaching the girls. He's more, this is why we're doing it versus, just, kind of teaching volleyball. So he teaches a lot of the mental stuff and getting them in the right spot. And if they're lined up here, this is the way we're lining up, and this is why we're doing it, and explaining it to them. So I think it's a lot for the girls to all kind of take in. But I think they're starting to get it now. And, I talked with Coach Neighbor the other day for a little bit, and he just reiterated that, they're starting to get it. They're starting to fall into, his scheme and the things that he's doing and wanting. And so, like I said, I fully, we fully expect to see these winning, set 5s here soon.
And it's still a lot to be determined in this season as well. So no reason for concern at this point. Let's move on and let's talk about your football team here. Obviously, after a rough trip through the GCL South, we've gotten into league play and have righted the ship. A nice road win over Mason a couple of weeks ago, and then a comfortable 20-point win over Sycamore this past Friday to get to 2-0 in the league here. And we've got 2 games coming up here to close out the month that in theory should be very winnable against Oak Hills and Middletown, as they are both winless on the season. And we look a little further past that, and we do see Lakota East on October 1st, and they're playing well thus far in the season here as we move through the middle of September. So with that in mind, and we'll talk about homecoming here in just a moment because it's going along with this on Friday against Oak Hills. But are you and the coaches looking at these next two games as with Oak Hills and Middletown saying we got to win these two games given their records and also given that you have both Lakota schools and Princeton coming up in October?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think last time we spoke, I said, we have a lot of sophomores playing. This is a very young team, a team that's going to get better each week. If you put on the film from week 1 to week 3, it's a totally different team. Our baby sophomores are growing up, and it's as simple as that. We're starting to get some push up front. The defense is playing like Colerain defense. We're flying around, making plays and whatnot. But, to go up to Mason on September 3rd and have a road win like that, it was huge. I mean, there were a ton of fans there. Again, it was exciting to be a part of, but MJ Flowers is a beast. I mean, that's what it comes down to. MJ is a different animal. And like I said, we're starting to get some push up front. We're starting to, the young guys are starting to understand the scheme and things like that. And then we come here versus Sycamore, last Friday. Sycamore comes off and beats Fairfield, which is a huge win for them. They come here, and again, we win 33-13. Our quarterback, Zay, looked like an upperclassman again, not a sophomore. MJ, again, ran for, a couple hundred yards or whatever it was. And then you kind of saw the Colerain defense, the run fast, hit hard, fly around, make plays, defense that we're used to here, and that came out Friday. So very encouraging from our fan standpoint, from our athletic department, from our coaches. It was in the last 2 weeks, we kind of said, okay, this is Colerain football. We're getting back to it. And so again, we're going to continue to get better. The next 2 weeks, Oak Hills and Middletowns, we don't look at records. It's a football game. Things can, a couple fumbles or a couple penalties, things can go different ways. So we're going to we'll prepare like it's a St. X or a LaSalle week, mentally and physically, and get ready, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But yeah, teams meshing and playing much better right now.
You mentioned MJ Flowers and kind of the last couple of weeks he's had. It was a rough trek for the team through the first 2 weeks of the season, and MJ was not excluded from that. He ran for just 100 yards in the first 2 games combined. Right. The last 2 weeks, he's run for 370 on just 31 carries. That's almost 12 yards per carry. Is it just a matter, like you said, just the guys growing up around him and in front of him? Or has there been a schematic change? What's been the difference that's basically allowed MJ to just decide to start going bonkers the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all starts up front. We're starting to see a little bit of push. And they're just starting to mesh as an offensive line. I mean, everyone knows that you're as good as your offensive line. And so we're starting to get pushed. They're meshing. The scheme has changed a little bit, but not a ton. And I think they're just starting to play better. As a 15-year-old kid, and you're going up to play St. X and LaSalle and, all those fans there and things like that, it's intimidating and it's nerve-wracking for those kids. So we're kind of just taking a deep breath, sitting back. And so, yeah, you're starting to see those results better.
And as I said, this coming Friday will also be homecoming on the schedule against Oak Hills. We were talking before recording, a couple little changes being made now for the homecoming event as well. Take us through that and also kind of everything that's going to go into this homecoming night here against Oak Hills. Yeah,
so we moved homecoming up 2 weeks. We thought they would give our students a better opportunity to have homecoming and things without restrictions and whatnot, but, also staying safe with it. So, yeah, this week's homecoming, Oak Hills is coming over. We expect a great game from there. Friday, the parade is still on. The parade will start at 5:30 and here on campus. And then the dance will be Saturday night in the stadium. Tickets are on our website at Hometown for all of our students who want that. No outside guests are coming or anything like that. So just be our students. It's the first time we've done it, so we're excited. I think a lot of our students are excited too to be in the football stadium on a Saturday night for a dance. So If we do have weather, our rain date will be October 2nd. So if we do have to cross that bridge, that will be it, but it will remain outside. We're not going to come inside or do anything like that.
So keep in mind there, kids, about that. Check online hometown as far as ticketing goes for the football game, and also obviously if any weather affects that as well. But nevertheless, here wrapping up this week's episode, Matt, certainly appreciate the time. A lot of great stuff going on right now with Colerain, a lot of very exciting times. And who knows, in a couple of weeks, we're talking about some league champions. Does that sound all right?
No, I think we'll be, hopefully we're in that conversation. So
we'll definitely be looking forward to it at that point there. Our thanks to Colerain Athletic Director Matt Stoinoff joining us once again for Inside Colerain Cardinals Athletics here on WeAreColerain.com and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports.